Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Relatable Radio Hour with me, Dr. Green. Thank you so very much for joining. Um, I want to first and foremost give a preliminary thank you to tonight's guest because he has been doing some amazing things. And I've just been following him on LinkedIn and just seeing the amazing feats that he's been accomplishing. And I've just been in awe of his work. I'll just be honest with you. And I already said it to him before, but I just want to say again, thank you so very much for joining because I know that you have a very busy schedule. And I know you took some time to make this happen. So thank you. And I'll introduce you in just a second. But we're going to continue this wonderful series we've been having with leaders, talking about, their different leadership styles and how they've been able to use their talents and their strengths to get to where they are, and I am just so excited to hear this brother's journey. I'm welcoming to tonight's show Dr. Kofi Smith, who is the head coach and CEO of Keystone Management LLC. Dr. Smith, thank you so very much again for joining us tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Dr. Green. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for blessing me with this opportunity to just speak to your audience. It is truly, truly an honor and a privilege to be on the show.
Oh wow, I'm flattered. Thank you so very much. Again, I really appreciate it. So you have such an amazing journey, but for those who don't know you and don't know this journey, and I'm not asking for like the entire thing, but if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what has gotten you to where you are today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me start with what God has blessed me to become, and then I want to take you back from where He's brought me from. So, who I am right now, and there's a constant evolution of us all, but who I am right now is that I'm the head coach, CEO of Keystone Management. Why that's so important to start with that is because that company was started 3.5 years ago during Omicron, COVID, all of that stuff that was going on. My business attorney, I'll never forget, I was in the airport and he said, Dr. Smith, are you sure this is what you want to do? Because there's a whole bunch of businesses going out of business,
Right.
especially small businesses. And I told him, I said, Doug, listen, if it's crazy to anybody, it's crazy to me. The only thing that I can tell you is God told me to do it. And from
Mm,
there, we started the business, and it's very important to know also, why was I so confident in making that comment to an industry professional, my business attorney, who's in business to protect businesses, right? That's what business attorneys do. But why was I so confident in being able to tell him, Doug, God told me to do it? And it's because my spiritual advisor, several weeks before, he told me, Dr. Smith, God has told me that He's trying to deliver you a package, and He cannot deliver this package to you with you being at the wrong address. You have got
mm,
to change addresses. Now, the reason why that was so pivotal and that was so important is because this whole notion of starting a business, I was terrified of it. I was scared to do it. I had very low self esteem that I could do it. I had very low confidence that I could pull it off. But I knew that God was telling me to do it. So I just had to hear it from someone else that I truly trusted. Just like you're hearing the words come out of my mouth, I needed to hear God articulated through a human voice, and that was the voice. The other thing that I want to make sure that I articulate to the group as well is that I had another person beside me. Her name is Miss Makisha Huntley. She was at the airport with me. And we had started talking about this notion of starting a business back in 2016. During that time, I was pursuing my doctorate degree. I graduated with my doctorate in 2018. At that point, we started really saying, you know what we're doing here at the world's busiest airport, Hartsfield Jackson, we can do this for other companies. We can do facility management for other companies. We can do construction management, program management for other companies, even dabble in the property management. We can do it. So we continued to talk about it. 2019 came around. And then at that stage, at that point, the back end of 2019, we got really serious about doing it. And God brought people into my life or into my life, um, subsequently her life as well, that said, hey, we would love for you to come either take over our business, come be the CEO, and then buy us out, let us sit on the board. There was all these different combinations of what people had brought to me. But I was very, very blessed that a gentleman by the name of Trox Hostel, I was introduced to him, and he saw something in me that he believed that I could actually create a company and start a company and be very successful. He became my number two cheerleader right behind Miss Mikesha, who ultimately told me that we can do it. So her and I left. We left. We left the airport. We left this place of comfort. We left this place of security. I was president and CEO at the world's busiest airport. It doesn't get any better than that. I'm at number one, right? And we decided to leave, and it was just us two. And we left. We were full blown into the company February of 2021. And then you fast forward that 3.5 years later, God has blessed us to have 85 people in the company. We were just acknowledged by the Atlanta Business Chronicle in April as one of the top 100 fastest growing companies privately owned in the city of Atlanta. We were ranked 31. Now, I tell you that because that is nothing but God's favor on my
Mhm.
life. Because yes, I have a doctorate degree. Yes, I graduated from Georgia Tech with an industrial engineering degree, all that stuff. I know strategy. I work hard. Everybody does that stuff. But the reason why we're so blessed is because God has always shown favor on me. And that takes you all the way back into time, right?
Yeah.
So people who's listening to this, they say, oh, he's Dr. Kofi Smith. He started a company 3.5 years later. You know, they've scaled one of the fastest growing companies in Atlanta. We have operations in 5 cities, 5 states. I'm talking to you right now out of DC, where one of our accounts is. So people hear that and they think, well, yeah, of course, right? Of course. He's a doctor. He's got all this going on. He was at the world's busiest
Mhm.
airport. What people don't know is the journey. And that's what I appreciate you asking, is that's who I am now, right? I'm this CEO, head coach, have a business. When I was at the airport, I was very fortunate, very blessed to be one of the most admired CEOs in Atlanta. I was a trailblazer, recognized in Atlanta. So all these recognitions that God gave me, but you got to know where he brought me from. So
Mhm.
this kid or this person that you're looking at, I always refer to myself as a kid, but this little kid is just a country boy from Alabama. I had a speech impediment growing up. I had very low self-esteem when I was growing up. I had low confidence. I just never ever really knew, and quite honestly didn't figure it out until I'm 48 now. I didn't figure it out till 8 years ago at 40 who God had made me. So during all of that time, despite the amount of success that God had given me, it was until 40 that I figured out whose I was and who I was. So
Mhm.
you take this little kid from back in Alabama, low self-esteem, speech impediment, all that stuff, really had to work hard in school. I was very blessed to get a scholarship, go to Georgia Tech. Football, making it to the NFL was my dream, like so many dreams of individuals out there playing football, but really only 1% get there. So you take a whole, class of 100 people that's on a football team, only one of them is going to get that big shot at the NFL. And then the
Mhm.
lifespan of someone even in the NFL is 3 to 5 years. So I didn't make it. And that was my dream. But God gave me a great education from Georgia Tech, industrial engineer. I went and worked for Milliken and Company, had a great career there. Milliken was very good to me, taught me everything I know about analytically being able to think and process and solve problems. So you take this little country boy from Alabama, I'm at Milliken, and I was there for 4 years. And while I was there, I had 6 promotions. 4 of those were upward level promotions within those 4 years of being at Milliken. And the reason why that's important is because I want everybody to understand the reason why I was promoted the way I was is not because of my smarts at all. Okay. It was because I recognize that if you want to be successful, no different than on a football field, if you want to be successful, your number one thing that you should be doing is trying to make everybody else successful. And if you do everything that you can to help others, to pour into others, to develop others, to uplift others, then all ships rise with the same tide. So when I came into Milliken, fresh out of college, not knowing anything about corporate America, not knowing anything about real leadership, except for what I learned on that football field. I came in, the plant manager, who I love to this day, gave me my first shot, Steve Alford. He told me when he interviewed me, he said, "Do you want to be an industrial engineer? You can sit behind a table, run cost analysis, you can do all this stuff, or do you want a team?" I said, "Give me
Mhm.
a team. Give me a team." And that was one of the best decisions, best choices that I ever made, because he then followed with, "Great. I was hoping you were going to say that. I'm going to give you the team, and they're the worst team. It's
Mhm.
C shift. They're behind in process reliability. They're behind in their production. They are a group of individuals that just have not been able to bring it together." And these was his words. He said, "You are going to sink or swim." Now you imagine that. This is the first time that you've had a conversation with your plant manager. He's not even
Mm.
my boss. He's the guy
Mhm.
who's running the whole ship. And I'm
Mhm.
sitting having lunch with this gentleman, and he says, "You're going to sink or swim. You're going to sink or swim." I remember leaving that, and I was like, "Give it to me," right? That's the only thing I knew to say. Give it to me. And I walked out. I called my mom. I said, "Mom, I don't know what I just did. I don't know what this guy has given me the worst shift in the entire plant." In
Yeah.
6 months, that shift was not the worst, it was the best. We broke records and people were chasing our records. Now, the this is the end of the story because I want to make it very simple. But from that, those individuals that were the worst, they were the last, God made us first. How did that happen? I went in not knowing anything about plant manufacturing, not knowing anything about textiles manufacturing. I went into that situation, and what I did know is how to win. And that's what I
Mm.
learned from football. That's what I learned from all my coaches, from Steve Mask in high school to Coach George O'Leary at Georgia Tech. I knew how to win. And what that meant was taking all of these different individuals that God had placed before me and placed under my leadership and making sure they were in the right seat, the right position. And that's all I did. I looked at this group of people and I said, "Wait a minute, that dude is a quarterback and he's playing lineman. That guy right
Right.
there, that dude, he can't catch to save his life, but he's
Yeah.
big. Why is he at a receiver? Let me put him at a hitting position, a linebacker." All I did is look at the team that God had given me, and I did an assessment and said, "Wait, they're in the wrong positions." But before any of your audience can just walk in, assess a situation, and then start moving people around, you have to garner their trust. You have to garner their respect. So, how do you do that? Because that's number one. You then, what I did, and what I still do to this day, what I did when I was at the airport, I simply started bringing them food. That was it. I started bringing them food, donuts in the morning, orange juice, and I started connecting
Yeah.
with them, right? And
Yeah.
while we sat down and ate orange juice, I mean, drunk orange juice and ate donuts,
Mhm.
I started
Mhm.
learning about John's family. I started
Mhm.
asking Billy about his family. All of a sudden, they're looking at this young whippersnapper, right, who's out of
Mhm.
college, and he's coming in. He's not telling us how to do our job, right? I didn't make any changes with them until about 2 to 3 months after I had built a relationship and they
Right.
could trust me. And now they liked me and now they respected me. So now, when I said, "Hey guys, I got an idea," they were open to the idea. And what
Mhm.
followed behind that idea was, "Hey, let's try these different positions. Let me take you and put you on the slitter. Hey, wait, wait, come over here, Bobby. I want you to
Mhm.
run the Jets." Not only, Bobby, do I want you to run the Jets, which is probably the hardest job at that point, I'm going to run it with you. I'm
Mhm.
going to go and I'm going to pull those Jets with you, right? So now the three lessons that is in that story, because I want you to know that's my career, right? The way I moved and got 6 promotions within 4 years at Milliken, I then left Milliken. I pursued football and chasing football all over the place, went back in the industry to an account which was in Covington, Georgia. I was hired by Lean Facility Services for an account that was failing, that they were going to get kicked out of. And they hired me. They just threw something against the wall. They just took a shot on me because I assumed they were losing it. And it's like, "Hey, you know, what is it going to hurt?" Bring the kid in.
Mhm.
Let's see if he can change things. They brought me in within 6 months. That team that was going to get kicked out won an award. That team won an award for the best mechanical plant and the entire company out of Link Facility Services. But what's important for that story is that that team won the best when we submitted for the most improved. The next year, we submitted for the most improved over the best, which was us, and we
Mhm.
won that award. We won that one, and that had never been done in the company history. Back to back, that somebody wins the best after going for the most improved, and then they came back, won the most improved over the best, which was themselves. We also won the Customer Hall of Fame award. The reason that's important, because remember, I told you the customer was kicking us out. They were
Mhm.
kicking us out. So within a very short period of time, that team was the best across the whole entire company. And then that company takes me from there. They moved me over to Delta Airlines, where the account, the reason why they took me to Delta is because the account was struggling. They were about to lose the account. Within 6 months, that team that was there had the president or the senior vice president, or I guess his title was the vice president of corporate real estate, calling the president of Link Facility Services and says, "Hey, we're not going to end your contract. What this team is doing, we appreciate what they're doing, so we're not going to end the contract." And we went on to do transformations at Delta's headquarters that had not been done previously. And that has nothing to do with this guy that you're listening to or that you're looking at, right? It has everything to do with the team. But what was different with each one of those teams was the leadership, right? It was the leadership. So when people are trying to replace teams and they're talking about how bad the team is, and I've had it when I was at the airport, people are talking about, we got this company, the company's not performing, the people are not performing. And I would always tell my shareholders, it's not the people. It's not the people, it's the leadership.
Mhm.
Change out the leadership. The people are just fine. Change out the leadership and let the leadership come in and inspire the people, motivate the people, develop the people, create impact with the people. So that story that I told you at Milliken, with us going from last to first, with it simply being me garnering trust, garnering their respect by me making sure that they knew I was about them and I wasn't about me, right? That just
Mhm.
followed me throughout my whole career. And that's how I ended up at the airport, where then became one of the most admired CEOs. It was nothing different that I was doing at the airport as president and CEO than what I did when I was at Milliken as a production manager,
Mhm.
right? It was the same thing. So I hope that kind of helps and just gives that. Oh, by the way, very important for everybody. Fantastic growth, right? Like
Mhm.
my career, I look at my career and I'm like, wow, God, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I have my MBA from Georgia Tech. I have an industrial engineering degree from Georgia Tech. I have a doctorate degree from Georgia State. I have all these degrees, right? And I love and appreciate my degrees and the schools from which I got them from. But I don't want people to hear and listen and think it's about my education. You're listening to this little country boy from Alabama that struggled in every area from self-esteem, self-confidence, you name it, articulation, being able to speak, you name it. I struggled. But because I knew one thing, one thing. Well, really, it's two things. One, I knew God was always going to take care of me and love me, right? I knew that. Now, I didn't really, truly understand that until I started becoming of age. But it was always planted inside of me. My mom always told me, my grandfather told her, she told me, my dad re-emphasized that God is going to always take care of you and he's going to love you no matter what. So I had that. Here's number two is that I always knew it was about other people and not me. Because if God got me, why I need to worry about me, right?
Mhm.
So it just made sense to me that if God got me, my mom told me God got me, my dad told me that God got me. So I don't need to worry about me. He's going to take care of me, right? Because I certainly can't fix me. So I need him to help me. I need him to fix me. But what I can do is I can be a vessel for everybody else. What I can do is be a support for everybody else. What I can do is take everything that I have and try to pour it into them to help them be better. That is all. That is like the greatest secret. And I don't even know why it's a secret, right? It just makes sense. I've been on stages
Um,
talking to thousands of people. I've been on stages talking to hundreds of people that are successful business owners, and that's the message that I tell them. That's the fundamental message. I could talk to you about strategy. I can talk to you about finances. I can talk to you about moving the chess pieces. I can talk to you about grind, hustle, grit, and I will. I will share all that with you as well. But that fundamental, foundational level of success that you want to build your house on, take care of other people and it not be about you.
mhm.
Wow. So, I mean, so many nuggets in that alone as to what you shared. I mean, the fundamental point of valuing people, building that rapport with people is so foundational to just creating that success that you're looking for. And you're right. I mean, it seems so simple, but yet so many people just don't understand its importance, or maybe they don't realize it because maybe they have a different way of thinking. But I think it's so important for individuals to understand how important it is to value people and to build that rapport with them and to just get to know them on a human level. That might be what is the disconnect. People just forget that we're humans and we
Mhm.
lose that sight of that humanity. But I'm so glad to hear that that's been a secret component to your success, and it's been doing amazing things for you. You said a few things that I want to circle back to because I think it's so important for people to hear other people's trials and tribulations, and seeing how they get through them and then get to that next level. You kept mentioning the low self-esteem and the lack of confidence that you had at such a young age, and the speech impediment and things of that nature. Um, how were you able to get out of that and then eventually get to a place where you felt confident enough to start to realize who you were as a person? I mean, and we're talking at like a young age, is I think what you said. How were you able to get through that? And when was it when you really realized the power that you had as a person?
Yeah, that's a great question. And let me answer this question in two ways. Uh, many times, more times than not, your weakness becomes your strength, right?
Mhm.
And here's what I mean by that is that my weakness was this notion that I didn't know enough, right? My weakness was I didn't think that I could compete with others because of, I said words differently. I couldn't articulate the way others could. My vocabulary wasn't as extensive as others. I didn't think that um, I could attract people to me to be my friend because of A, B, C, and D. Well, that weakness that existed ended up becoming a strength. So it was a curse and a blessing. And I think a lot of that has to do more so with, again, just God putting good people around me, more less than me, but God putting more people around me, good people around me. But I became a student of success, right? So this lack of self-confidence, I wanted to understand why other people had self-confidence, right? This low self-esteem, I wanted to understand, well, how do people not have low self-esteem, right? So
Mhm.
I just became a student of success. I started reading and devouring books. I mean, back in college, I mean, anything that I could get, honestly, anything I could touch that was about leadership or I saw others. And this is before YouTube back then, right? This is before social
Mhm.
media. Like nobody has any excuses now. Nobody,
Yeah,
right? With
yeah,
YouTube,
yeah.
social media, everything is at a click of a button. Whatever it is that you
Right,
want to know, you have no excuses. Just open up
right.
Google, click, or ask Chat GPT. There's no excuses. But back then, it was tapes, right? It wasn't even
Mhm.
CDs. It was tapes, cassette tapes, and books. And there was all these different organizations that were popping up back in my day, these multi-level marketing organizations. Well, in these multi-level marketing organizations, it was really about selling and connecting to people, right? So whatever it was, Amway, it didn't matter, Quick Start, all these different ones, but it was essentially built on selling a product, getting a team, and being able to duplicate, right? And multiply. I mean, that's what multi-level marketing is. Well, in those things of me having this little spirit of entrepreneurship, I wanted to get a part of that, right? So I started reading these books, started listening to these successful people, um, listening to, quite honestly, the beginning was listening to Martin Luther King, right? Like I asked my dad, how can he stand before thousands of people and get on
Right.
stage and
Yeah.
talk to people? Malcolm X, how can he stand and be so passionate, so deliberative, right, about this message? How could he do that? So I started watching them, right, and starting to say, oh, I'm going to speak. I'm going to speak to thousands one day. I'm going to speak to thousands one day. It went from watching Martin Luther King and Malcolm X to then starting and reading books, Dennis Kimbro book, um, um, Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice. Then I realized, wait a minute, Dennis Kimbro wrote that book from off of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. Who is this Napoleon Hill guy? So then I started digging into Napoleon Hill. Then I went and read all of Robert Kiyosaki's books. And then the list just goes on. I read all of every book that Jim Collins has written to this day, I've read it. Every book that Malcolm Gladwell has written, I've read it. So I just started down this journey, which hasn't stopped. You're looking at me now, and since October of last year, I've read 15 books, all about entrepreneurship and leadership. So I became infatuated with learning. And it was because I wanted to be better because I saw myself lesser than. So
Mhm.
in my head, the more I started to read, the more I started to learn, I'm going to catch up with these guys. I'm going to be able to speak like them. I'm going to be able to lead. I'm going to be able to feel good about who I am. I just got to learn. I got to learn more, learn more, learn more. So that has been my secret sauce. By the way, a part of that secret sauce of getting finally learning, because remember, it wasn't until 40, I'm 48,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It wasn't until 40 that I finally got it. Like, oh my God, I know who I am, right?
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I know whose I am, right? Because I always
Right.
knew God loved me. I knew God gonna take care of me, but it was far different at 40 because now I had all this history and saw all these different moments where God had taken care of me. And then I saw all these different awards and prestigious acknowledgments that God had given me. And I remember sitting back and looking at my resume. It's a true story. I remember sitting back and looking at my resume, and it's right before I got acknowledged. I got acknowledged for 40 under 40 for Atlanta. Right
Mhm.
behind that, I got acknowledged for 40 under 40 for the state of Georgia, for the Georgia Trend. And I remember looking at my resume for my submission for that 40 under 40 for the Georgia Trend, and it was an out of body experience. Because I looked at this resume and this bio, and I was like, who is that?
Mhm.
I want to meet him. And that was my realization. I was like, I want to meet this dude. I want to
Right.
read about this guy, right? And so for so long, I was going and I was talking to that guy. I was learning from that dude. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I am him. I'm
Mhm.
that guy. I have become that guy that I want to sit down with and learn from. That's why I never say no to opportunities like this. Yeah, I never say no to mentorship, right? I have, and that is a problem, by the way, because I say yes too much, but I don't know how not to say no to someone that's looking for something
Right.
that I might have that can help elevate them and move them through life the way God has helped me move through life from nuggets that I've been able to get from people, right? So,
Mhm.
long story short, is that that insatiable desire to learn, to continuously improve oneself, this whole thought of self-evolution, self-mastery, right? You cannot get that. You cannot get it until you commit to yourself that you want it. And what that means is that I'm going to talk to who I need to talk to. I'm going to find mentors. I'm going to find executive coaches. I'm going to create a board of directors for Kofi Inc. or Dr. Green LLC. I'm going to have a board of directors that help govern me as the CEO of me, to help me make right decisions to improve my stock price so that I am very much capitalized in the market and I bring extreme value into the market, right? Until you start focusing on that, until you start putting in that work and that effort to change you so the outside of you can change,
Mhm.
you just won't, it won't happen. So in that,
Mhm.
even if that means getting, which is taboo in our culture and with our people, it's a little taboo to go and get therapy. I've had three therapists, right? Three therapists. And through all three of them, again, one till 40, right? And I started getting therapy at 35, somewhere around there. And I had three therapists. And it wasn't until, even after hearing, two of them were white men, one of them was an African American woman. And then all of them was trying to help me understand who I was because they could see me for me, but I couldn't.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? I couldn't. And I'm hearing these very professional people saying, do you not understand who you are? Do you not understand what you've accomplished? Do you not understand who God made you? And I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have as human beings, is that it's hard for us to see ourselves the way everyone else sees us, right? Um, and not that we should take our image off of what everybody else sees, right? For me, I think the most beneficial thing, and this is the hardest, what I'm about to tell you, for me, the most beneficial thing, even though I had these amazing human beings that were telling me about myself, what really helped me turn, what really helped me turn is when I started seeing myself through God's lenses. When I started recognizing
Mhm.
whose I was and the way He looked at me, because He helped me understand how I was looking at my sons,
Mhm.
these three amazing black men that God has given me, the way I looked at them, the way I loved them, there's nothing that they could ever do to make their father turn against them. And then all of a sudden it clicked. I say, oh, wait, if I feel that way about my sons,
Mhm.
God took his son and put him on the cross,
That's right.
suffered the unconscionable. I mean, just
Mhm.
you can't even think about the amount of pain that his
Mhm.
son went through when he had the power to stop
Mhm.
it, and he didn't stop it.
Mhm.
And he did that for me, right? And he did
Mhm.
that for you, and he did that for everybody. I was like, wait a minute, I'm not sending my sons to the cross for nobody, right?
Mm.
I'm not
Right.
putting my sons in harm's way for nobody. I'll go down. I'll be killed. I'll be crucified before my sons ever feel any pain. But yet God sent his son to the cross for me. That's when I really started realizing, man, it's blasphemy to think that I'm lesser than when God allowed that to happen for me. And I started seeing how much God loved me. And that was the
Mhm.
game changer at 40. I started really understanding how much God loved me. I started seeing me through his lens. So now when I looked at that resume, I was like, oh my God, that out of God experience was me just seeing me through his lens. So that's
Mhm.
really how all that change happened. It's a slow process. It was slow for me. I hope it's much faster for most, and I want it to be faster for most. Um, but if you cannot start seeing yourself for who God made you to be, which is a king or queen, which is a conqueror, which is somebody that has all abundance, which is somebody that's healthy, which is somebody that is unstoppable, right? If you can't start seeing yourself through God's lens, it's going to be very, very hard because it doesn't matter what other people say. Because people can say good things about you, bad things about you, right? So you can't take your that thermometer, that temperature off of what other people say. Right. And you can't even take it off of what you say. I hear so many motivational speakers all day, every day, always talk about that you can do anything. You can do anything. You have to know who you are. You have to see yourself as blah, 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 blah. Right? That's very hard. The brain doesn't even work like that, by the way. Right? There's more things in life that's going to prevent you that
Mhm.
you can see, hear, smell, and taste that's going to tell
Right.
you that you're not good enough. Right?
Right.
There's so many different tests out here, be it during school or whatever, that's going to say, no, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. There's
Mhm.
too many outside external things that are going to scare you. Brain protects us and not pursuing something. So
Mhm.
for me, the way I see me now is not because I see myself through Dr. Smith lens. I see myself through the lens of he who made me and he that loves me. So
Mhm.
that's my secret sauce. That's how I got through it.
And that is the best secret sauce to have. But I want to echo what you said. It is hard to see ourselves in that lens. You know, God has this amazing ability to see us as, you know, his own, but we lose sight of that so much. And like you said, it's so easy to do that. It's so very easy. But it sounds as though when you finally realized it, you know, looking at your sons, you were able to give yourself that same grace and view yourself in a different perspective. And I think that is a true testimony because somebody needs to hear that. I needed to hear it. You know, we sometimes forget it just going in the hustle and bustle, whose we are. And so when we're able to do that, there are just so many amazing things that can come from that. It's definitely been a part of your secret sauce as well. You also mentioned just that incessant need of improvement, not just for yourself, but improving other people, which I think is so very important in this day and age, and especially as leaders. You've talked about, you know, your journey in uplifting people on your teams and getting them to, you know, greater levels of success. I'm wondering for yourself, what have been some of the roadblocks or challenges that you have, you know, really fought through on the company side or leadership side that have kind of deflated you, but you know also giving you so many more valuable experiences.
People. Oh my God. Right? I told you it's people first, right? So
People first.
when you take that that's your ethos, right? That
Yeah.
I'm gonna put others first, me last, right?
Yeah.
And when you mean that, like you do it and you put others first and you're hoping that people are going to appreciate it. You're hoping that people will reciprocate it. People are complex. They're complex organisms. And when we know to do right, we do wrong. Right? Um when someone's helped you and you go into self-preservation and instead of saying thank you, you stab them in the back, right?
Mm.
People are very complex. People will let you down time and time and time again. People will hurt you like nothing else can hurt you, right? So you got to think about me and my situation. Remember, I came out of college, I went directly into leading people, right? Steve Offer
Hmm.
said, you see shift. You're going to be on the floor, you're going to be leading a team. I asked for it. Give me a team.
Hmm.
Ever since I said that, is this, young guy straight out of college, straight out of Georgia Tech, give me a team. God has given me a team ever since. And every team I've had has hurt me in some type of way.
Mm.
Every team. Every team I've had has disappointed me in
Hmm.
some type of way. Every team that I've had in some type of way has stabbed me in my back. Every team. Every team. Now that's not all people, right? But it's been every team. There's been one or
Hmm.
two on the team. And I'll tell you when I was at the airport, this true story. I mean, my folks at the airport could tell you is that I had a town hall meeting, true story, and um, had the whole had the whole company come in. I'm talking to the company. I said, listen, there are people out there right now, and I know who you are, that is trying to take me down and take this company down.
Mm.
You all, I see you as bad sales, right? I see you as bad sales in the organization. But there's some white blood cells that's in this organization that they will take you out. I have the power to take you out, but I'm not going to. I'm the
Mm.
president and CEO. I have the power to take you out, and I will not do it. In fact, I'm going to promote you. The reason why I'm going to
Mm.
promote you is because your skill set deserves promotion, right? Your mindset doesn't. But I'm not going to not promote you because I don't like you, right? I'm going to promote you and I'm going to do what's right for you because that's what God expects me to do outside of how you feel about me and outside of what you're doing to me. But the white blood cells that's in this organization, they'll take care of you. Just like
Mm-hmm.
white blood cells in the body will rush to where that infection is and eradicate that infection from the body. That's what the rest of this side of the organization will do for those of you who choose to be on this side of the organization. True story, right? And those people that I was talking to, I indeed promoted them, right? There's individuals that I wanted to stop growth for them. Wrote an email to stop it because I had the power to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Read the email, and deleted the email. I said, you know what,
Mm-hmm.
God? Because God told me, and I didn't understand this at the time, but God told me, vengeance is not supposed to be yours, it's supposed to be mine. So why are you getting involved in my business? Right? It's
Mm.
don't get involved in my business. Your job is that
Right.
if you have an opportunity to help the person, then you
Mm-hmm.
help them. Even if that means just shut up, don't say nothing. Because
Right.
when I speak as president and CEO, it carried volumes, right? So I erased the email, said, God, I got it. I got it. And the most amazing thing for all of you that are out there listening, the most amazing thing is every one of those people, every last one of them that I chose not to use my power and influence against, even though they were against me, even though it was very clear of what they were doing to me. When I chose not to use my power and influence against them, but instead for them, even if that meant me not saying something that could have been detrimental for them, right? Or even if it was promotion. And I know it sounds counterintuitive. I know it sounds crazy. I know people that are listening and be like, I wouldn't do that. I don't want to do that. Not for my spouse, not for my boss, not for my whoever. I
Right.
get it. Trust
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I get it. All right. But I did it. And
Yeah.
did it, when I did it, God took care of them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He took care of them. And at the same time that he was taking care of them, he was taking care of me. So he
Mm-hmm.
promoted me. He elevated me. He gave me more than what they were trying to take away from me. Right. And where I sit with you today, what you asked, it's a struggle. It is a struggle. My own business right now, the people in my company that I have burdened all of the responsibility of taking care of them, not just them, but their families. It's hard. It's very hard because the same people that I'm trying to give everything, sacrificing from my family, taken away from my family to give to them and take care of them is the same people that are setting you up for failure or same people that are colluding behind you. So to answer your question, my biggest struggle that I've always had to get over, always, still to this day, it was no
Mm-hmm.
different when I was back in my Milliken days to where I now own my own company. People are my biggest challenge. They are my biggest challenge. But yet they are the reason why I do what I do. So even though they're my biggest challenge, they're my biggest reward. So
Mm-hmm.
if I can help develop, impact, and change a life, there's no greater gift that you can give me anyway. And I believe there's no greater gift that you can give any human is to impact another human being for good. So that's been my biggest challenge. And that's the one that always gets me down in the corner crying to God, saying, I quit. I want to give up. I hate this,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the
Mm-hmm.
people. It's the
Mm-hmm.
people. But you just got to
Mm-hmm.
keep getting through it. So it doesn't matter. It's people that report to you. It's your boss. It's your spouse. Sometimes it's our children. People are just difficult, complex species, organisms, right? And you just have to learn to do as much as you can to take care of them the best you can, and then let God take care of you. Now, for
Mm-hmm.
everybody that's hearing this that may not believe in God, maybe an atheist or whatever the case may be, what I always tell people, I don't care who you believe in, I don't care who you worship. What I would recommend and advise is that you believe in something greater than yourself. Because if it's not the universe, if it's not, you know, um, Allah, if it's not God, if it's not Buddha, if it's not something that's greater than yourself, then you're going to have a hard time making it through this world. A
Mm-hmm.
very hard time. So I
Mm-hmm.
talk God, I talk Jesus, but I'm not trying to push that on anyone. What I really want people to understand is that that's my walk. right?
Right.
The reason why Dr. Smith is who he is because of my Father in heaven. It ain't because of me. You don't have to follow Jesus Christ. You don't have to follow my God that I'm talking about. But if you don't believe in something that's greater than yourself,
That's
it's
right.
going to be so hard for you to
Mhm.
make it in this very, very difficult and hard world.
Mhm. And again, I'm hearing just that obedience, even through the hard times of having the power to do what you want to do within your own company. I'm just tracing back to your story that you shared. Having that ability to take things into your own hand if you wanted to, but being obedient to God so that He can do what is necessary and not take on that responsibility on our own to try to take care and eradicate, as you said, the problem. That's really big. And I think a lot of us need to hear that because, that human side of us, that flesh side of us always wants to take things in our own hands and not let God take care of what needs to be taken care of. But I really appreciate you just kind of validating how important it is to step back and let God do what He does best. And you've talked a lot about your faith, and I'm in the same capacity with you as it relates to my journey. I know for a fact that I wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit walking with me every single day. What was the first interaction or first iteration that you had with God that kind of put you in this place of obedience and just structure and aligning to what He has told you to do? Because I think
Yeah.
we all have that aha moment, that epiphany moment where God speaks to us. We never forget it, and we just fall in line from that point on.
Yeah. My mom is a pastor. My grandfather was a pastor. So my mom, I'm very fortunate, I'm very blessed that I had a praying mom. I'm very blessed and fortunate that I had a mom. Still to this day, I have my mom in my life who sends out scriptures every day via text message to all those that are in her circle, right? Including me and my sister. So my mom taught me early on. She planted those seeds, and a lot of times, it's not a lot of times, all the time, right? You plant a seed, it's going to take time for that seed to grow and
Yes.
mature, right? Right. But once that seed comes out of the ground and starts to grow, that seed and that which has grown has thousands of seeds in it, right? Thousands of seeds in it. So my mom had always instilled in me the power of prayer, but I never really understood what it was, right? I didn't understand what prayer was until my senior year in college. True story. My senior year in college, I was getting all rejection letters from colleges to play football. And it was this one rejection letter. I don't know why it moved me the way it did. I always talk about it in my keynote speeches. But UCLA sent me a rejection letter, basically saying that, you can't come play football for us. I still have that letter to this day. So they sent me this rejection letter. And I don't know what it was about that letter because I was getting other rejection letters, right? But I guess that particular letter, maybe that was the one that broke the camel's back because I had so many prior to. If it would have been the first one, maybe it wouldn't have phased me at all. So that particular letter, though, made me um, get into a state of disbelief. Like I wasn't going to go to college. I wasn't going to be able to play football. I wasn't going to have any shot of going to the NFL if I didn't get a Division I scholarship. Again, that was my little peanut brain thinking at the time. So my mom came to me and she says, listen, we're going to pray for a week. This is a true story. My mom said, we're going to pray for a week and things will change. I'm not lying to you. And mom, I know you're going to be listening to this. I love you so much. She said, we're going to pray for a week. We prayed for a week. I would sit with my mom and my mom would pray because I didn't know how to pray. So I'm just listening to my mom and I would just, I'm a senior in high school, but I really didn't just know how to pray, right? I knew how to talk to God,
Right.
but I didn't really know how to fellowship with God, right? I didn't know how to listen. So, and God loves us, right? And He knows that, right? He's like,
Hmm.
He's doing the best that He can, right? He's doing the best that He
Yeah.
can. In 1 week after my mom said that we were going to pray, I had 11 scholarship offers. 11. They just started coming in the mail. They just start flowing into the mail. And based off of that is to your question, is when I really knew who I should say I knew the power of prayer, right? I knew the power of prayer. I knew that there was a God. Um, I knew I knew that if I learned to do this, what my mom just did, right? From getting all rejection letters to just praying 1 week to getting 11 scholarship offers. I mean, if that worked for that, then that should work for anything in my life
Mm-hmm.
that I'm
Mm-hmm.
pursuing. Now, you don't just switch on like a light bulb from that
Right.
event happening, right?
Right.
But that was my awakening. That was my awakening. And then I needed a lot of maturing as I continued to grow. But that was my moment. I think this is important too, just because I don't want us to miss it before we run out of time. But you take that story, right? All right. That was my awakening. But let me tell you about a very significant moment in my life when I also knew God was real. And this was 1997. And a lot of people who follow me, they know about this because they've seen this story. But in 1997, we were playing UGA. We had not beat UGA since 1990. All right, so UGA, for all those that are listening, University of Georgia, there are nemesis with Georgia Tech. They are our arch enemy. So we're
Mm-hmm.
playing them, and it's a Thursday night game. Everybody's watching. I wasn't a superstar at Tech at all. My other dudes, Joe Hamilton, Keith Brooken, Ryan Stewart, all those guys, they were superstars. I wasn't a superstar at all. I was a star among stars. So I then got an opportunity to start this game, which was a big deal for me. So I'm starting this game. I'm playing corner, and that's only because somebody else got hurt. But I'm starting the game. I'm having the best game of my life, right? I'm playing Hines Ward is on the other side of the field.
Wow.
Robert Edwards. I mean, these superstars who went to the NFL, Corey
Yeah.
Allen. So I'm having this game Thursday night, everybody back home in Alabama watching it, right? It's amazing. And Corey Allen catches a last second football. Corey Allen catches a last second touchdown on me to win the game. We were going to win. We were up. We had not beat them since 1990. And here we are, 1997, playing on Bobby Dodds Field at my home stadium at Georgia Tech. Corey Allen catches his pass. I remember on the ground looking up and seeing the first person face I saw was Keith Brooken, and then I saw my dude Brian Wilkins' face, and just the the defeat and disappointment and hurt that was on their face. It was overwhelming to me. I was the last person to leave the locker room. I walked back to West Campus. I cried. I didn't think it was possible for you to cry where you had no more tears in your tear ducts. Like I cried all my tears away. I
Mm-hmm.
get back and I get back and I was gonna commit suicide in my room. So I locked myself in my room. And the only way I knew that, I mean, I didn't have a gun, I didn't have anything to, hang myself. I'm in my dorm room. So the only thing I knew to commit suicide was take a full bottle of 800 milligram Motrin. Okay.
Wow.
So I poured them all out on the table on my desk, and I was going to take all of this Motrin. Now, what's important about the story is for people to understand that, remember, my mom's a pastor. I had had my interactions with God, right? But right before I went in to that game, Coach O'Leary had called a timeout. Right before that play, Coach O'Leary had called a timeout. We were on the sideline, and I literally heard God tell me the ball's coming your way, right? The ball's coming your way. And this is so important for everybody. This is so important. God told me the ball was coming my way. I heard him. I knew it. I was laser focused. I was like, this is my chance. This is my time, right? This is my time. This ball comes my way. I'm gonna intercept it. Popcorn flying, babies crying, game is over. We win, right? We
Mm-hmm.
go out on the field, and I know it's coming my way. I know it because he told me, right?
Yeah.
The problem, the problem, the problem, the problem is that I allowed fear to override my faith. Because if
Mm.
I would have just listened, and fed my faith and starved my fear, I would have been the most relaxed in that moment, and I would have did exactly what I had planned to do, which was intercept the ball. But
Mhm.
in that moment, I allowed fear to take over my faith. That's important to the story because what happened in that dorm room was now my peanut brain, right? Is that
Mhm.
God, you can't exist. This is how people get to suicide because I never thought I could get to suicide. People get to suicide, at least I got to suicide. I won't speak for everyone. The way I got to committing or wanting to commit suicide is that I no longer believed in God, which meant I no longer had hope in the world. So why would I stay here with all this pain that I was feeling? Because the pain was overwhelming. I did not want to step out of my room. How could I face my campus the next day? How could I face my teammates? How could I take that walk of shame? How could I deal with all the ridicule that I was going to get from my coaches? How was I going to deal with the articles that were going to be printed in the AJC? Right? How was I going to deal with all that pain? If there is no God, then there's just pain. And I'd rather not deal with my pain. Right? So that's why I was going to kill myself. So I said, God, I don't believe that you're real because you wouldn't allow that to happen to me. You would not allow that to happen to me. And if you're real, I need to hear from you. Because if I don't hear from you, I'm taking my life. Right. So I'm talking to God, but yet
Mhm.
I'm saying I don't believe in God. You're not real, God, but yet I'm talking to God. Right. I'm
Right.
having this conversation with God. So one side of me is saying God is not real, but the other side is saying, well, that's stupid because you're talking to him. Right. You're talking to him. So I sat there, just wanting to take the pills, and there was a knock on my door. There was a knock on my door. And this young lady, who was like my sister, had drove all the way from Stone Mountain, who had watched the game. She brought me a plant and she put this little, I wouldn't open my door for nobody. My teammates were trying to get in the door. I wouldn't talk to nobody. I wouldn't open the door. She put a little plant outside my door. She said, I know you're not going to open it. I know you're not going to open this door, but I'm leaving something from you and just read this letter. She slid a card up under my door. I got the card. And the card says, sometimes God closes windows to open up new doors, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes God closes windows to open up new doors. And that's what saved my life. When I read
Mhm.
that, I knew God had did exactly what I asked him to do. Speak to me. I need to hear from you or I'm going to take my life. That was him speaking to me. And later I realized, right, once you get
Mhm.
out of this emotional turmoil,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
realized God ain't do anything to me. He ain't do anything. Like I'm blaming God. Like, why did you do this to me? You cannot be real if you allow this to happen to me. He ain't do anything to me. I mean, if I would have really been hearing from God, God would have said, I did nothing to you. I told you it was coming your way. You failed.
Mhm.
You failed to react. You allow fear to take over as opposed to feeding your faith. I told you. It's like me telling you right now, I need you, as soon as this interview is over, I need you to go to Truist. I have a bank, I have what are they, a lockbox, right? And the code on that lockbox is 12345. And I need you to go to box 434 and open
Mhm.
up that lockbox. And inside that lockbox will change your life. Inside that lockbox is everything that you've ever asked for from a financial need and whatever you need. I told you, right? And you make the decision whether or not, I don't know if I'm gonna trust Dr. Smith. And it don't sound right. It don't make no sense to me. I ain't going to Truist, right? Right.
Right.
I ain't going, I ain't going.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Right.
You don't go,
Mhm.
right?
That's
You
right.
don't trust, you don't have faith, you don't go, right?
Right.
But it's there. It's there, right? But you allowed something to override your faith in me, right? And in that instance, I allowed my fear to override my faith in God. So he said the place coming your way, you know how to intercept it. You know how to backpedal, spin, and turn. You know what to do. You know where the ball is going. You know it's going to come to the corner. Hell, just run to the corner and catch the
Right.
ball, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was fearful. And then once I allowed that fear to take part of me, and this is a lesson for everyone, once you let fear get in, then it messes up everything.
Everything.
Messes up your vision, messes up your coordination, it messes up your execution, right? So just feed your faith, starve your fear, hear from God, and then move. Take the step and move. Go. If he says go, if he says it's coming, then go get it.
That in itself is the whole interview. That's the meat. That's what people need to hear and walk away fully aware of and taken into their own lives, into their own consideration, because that's it. I mean, if you don't have that faith and let that fear take over, you'll never move forward. And also, you said this earlier, you had the dream of wanting to go into the NFL, but God has so much bigger dreams for you. And
Mm.
I'm so glad that you, being obedient, followed through on what He had in store for you. And look where it has taken you to this place right now. So I just thank you so very much for sharing that journey with us. I got one last question for you. What is one word that affirms who you are?
Love.
Mm,
Yeah, that would be the word. Outside of everything else, I am love.
mhm.
I am love. Um, and that's what I believe our Father expects us to be, quite honestly. Success, all that stuff is fantastic, right? But there's nothing else greater than love. And I lead with my heart, which is problematic at times, and very challenging. Um, I make a lot of mistakes in life. I make a lot of mistakes. I have my own cross to bear. Um, I have sinned no different than most. I have failed no different than most, but I try to fail forward. And any mistake I've made, it has been I should say many of the mistakes I've made, they have never been with malice,
Mhm.
intentions to hurt
Right,
anybody,
right.
right? My entire life. Um, so that's why I say I am love. And that's where my focus always is how can I love somebody? How can I help somebody? How can I develop? How can I impact? How can I uplift? How can I inspire? All of that's just coming from a place of really just wanting to love people. And not all people make me happy. So again, I don't walk on water. I got my own issues, my own problems, but I always try my best to
Right.
come from a place of love.
In just talking to you, I know that you try to exude that servant leadership, to try to put yourself last and help others first, um, and to try to be that proper leader and guide as best as you can. So I think it's very much all over you, and I really appreciate you again for joining us tonight. Thank you so very much, Dr. Kofi Smith, for dropping your nuggets on the show tonight. I know a lot of people are truly inspired and are really moved to move forward in their journey because of hearing the amazing journey that God has brought you to. If individuals want to follow you, connect with you somehow, how can someone do that?
Yes, please, if you want to follow, you can follow me on LinkedIn at Dr. Kofi Smith, or you can follow me on Instagram. And I always have to look, it is Dr. underscore, so DR period underscore KK Smith on Instagram. Follow me. I
Awesome,
look forward to it. Thank you so much.
awesome, 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 awesome. What's one thing that you're grateful for today?
Oh, and one thing, man, there's thousands of things. I think
Thousands,
it's so
yeah,
important. I mean, I think it's so important for people to, I'm so glad you asked that question. It's so important for people to live in a state of gratefulness. Because you're going to have challenges. With every challenge comes a blessing. You're going to have blessings, but every blessing comes with a challenge. The only way that you can really continue to move forward in progress is by keeping your eye focused on that blessing. The only way you can focus on that blessing is having a spirit and staying in a state of gratefulness. So, I mean, I'm grateful for I'm grateful that you and I are having this opportunity to reach out and have a platform to touch lives. I'm grateful that God saw enough in me to allow you to allow me to be here on this stage in this moment. But I'm grateful for my children. I'm grateful for the life that God has given me. I'm grateful for my company. I'm grateful that my mom and dad are still alive. I'm grateful that my sister and her husband and their children are doing well. Like I can just go on and on and on and on about what I'm grateful for because I try to do it every morning. I try to wake up and just thank God before asking Him for anything. And many times I don't even ask Him for nothing, right? There's times where I don't even ask God for protection, preservation. You know, I just want to thank Him. And the times that I am asking God for something, it's nothing for me. It's for my children. It's for my wife. It's for my mom, my dad. It's for my friends. It's for those who are that are in need because He's given me everything that I need. It's very rare I will ask God for anything for me, even when I'm going after a big contract, a big account. It's very rare that I'm like, God, please give me this contract. It's very rare that I'm doing that. Many times I'm saying, God, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for
Yeah.
this, thank you for that, thank you for this. The last thing I'll leave you with is if you're in that state of gratefulness, please, everybody, just hear me. And you can go research it. Go research it. Google it. Ask any sage leader that has walked the face of this earth. If you stay in a state of gratefulness, the universe, by way of God, will come and bend towards you and give you so much more to be grateful for. You attract, like a gravitational pull, things to be
Absolutely.
grateful for as long as you continue to stay in a state of gratefulness.
Mhm. And I'm grateful for that.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
my friend. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining tonight's show. And I hope that you come back again and watch us again next week. We're going to have another amazing topic, another amazing guest. I hope you all have a great evening and have a great weekend.